What if I told you that a handful of physics ideas, most of them surprisingly simple, quietly explain almost everything around you? Not just rockets, black holes, or atoms, but why the sky is blue, why your phone works, why the universe has structure at all, and why anything exists in stable form instead of just fading into chaos. Today, we are looking at 5 physics concepts that do not just describe the universe. They secretly organize it. First, fields. This is one of the biggest mindset shifts in physics. Instead of imagining the universe as a bunch of tiny objects directly pushing and pulling each other, fields say, space itself is filled with invisible influences. Gravity is a field. Electromagnetism is a field. And in modern physics, even particles can be thought of as ripples in fields. Why is this useful? Because fields explain action at a distance without needing magic. A magnet does not have to touch your laptop to affect it. The electromagnetic field does the work. That is how motors spin, radios receive signals, and wireless charging even makes sense. A concrete example, every time you use Wi-Fi, you are interacting with electromagnetic waves moving through space as field disturbances. So fields are not abstract philosophy. They are the reason modern technology exists. Second, systems tend to move toward lower energy states. This one is almost a universal organizing principle. A ball rolls downhill because lower positions are more stable. Atoms form bonds because bonded states are often lower energy than separated ones. Even planets and stars settle into configurations that reduce energetic instability. Why does this matter? Because it explains why nature seems to prefer certain shapes, patterns, and structures. It is not preference, of course. It is physics. Systems naturally fall into arrangements that are easier to maintain. A concrete example, chemistry, water, salt, proteins, batteries, even your body's metabolism. All of it is about energy differences and the drive toward more stable states. If you understand energy landscapes, you can begin to understand why molecules assemble the way they do. Third, entropy. This is the concept everyone has heard of, but it is usually misunderstood. Entropy is not just disorder. It is really about the number of possible ways a system can be arranged. More possible arrangements means more entropy. Here is why that matters. The universe tends to evolve toward states that are statistically more likely. That is why ice melts, why perfume spreads through a room, and why broken eggs do not spontaneously reassemble. But entropy is also what makes life and complexity possible. Paradoxically, local order can emerge when energy flows through a system. Storms, ecosystems, and even life itself exist because they are constantly processing energy and exporting entropy. A useful takeaway: entropy explains why some processes are easy and others are one way. It is why you need energy to clean a room, build a machine, or keep a computer running. Order is not free. It has to be maintained. Fourth, quantum mechanics. This is where reality stops behaving like our intuition. At tiny scales, nature is probabilistic. Particles do not always have one definite path. They behave more like possibilities until measurement forces a specific outcome. Why is this useful? Because it explains the stability of matter. Without quantum rules, electrons would spiral into atomic nuclei, and atoms would not exist in the form we know. Quantum mechanics also explains semiconductors, lasers, MRI machines, and the entire electronics industry. A concrete example, your phone. The chips inside it depend on quantum behavior in materials. No quantum mechanics, no transistors. No transistors, no modern computing. So the weirdest theory in physics is also one of the most practical. Fifth, relativity. Space and time are not fixed backdrops. They are flexible and they change depending on speed and gravity. Time literally passes differently depending on where you are and how fast you are moving. Why is that useful? Because relativity explains GPS. Satellites orbit high above Earth, where gravity is slightly weaker and time runs differently than it does on the ground. Without correcting for relativity, your location data would drift fast enough to become useless. That is an astonishing thought. Every time you open maps and get turn-by-turn directions, you are benefiting from Einstein. Relativity also helps explain black holes, gravitational waves, and the large-scale structure of the cosmos. So these 5 ideas, fields, energy minimization, entropy, quantum behavior, and relativity, do not just sit in textbooks. They are the hidden rules underneath nearly everything we see. And what is amazing is that the universe is not built from endless complexity. It is built from a few deep patterns, repeating at different scales. That is why physics is so powerful. It lets us see through the surface of reality and understand the machinery underneath. 5 physics concepts that quietly explain the whole universe is just one small part of physics concepts. If you are interested, our full free physics concepts course is linked in the description.